Thank you so much. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
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 Gopi Janavallabha Girvaradhari.
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girvaradhari.
Oh, Gopi Janavallabha Girvaradhari.
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girvaradhari.
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana.
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana.
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana.
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana.
Yashodanandana Brajajanandana. Yashodanandana Brajajanandana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Before we get started today, let's do some japa. You do a session on japa? Is that it?
We do that, yeah.
You do that in English? Okay, yes, okay. We won't do it again because already it's enough. Thank you very much, Haribol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshuran Militanena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So it's been a little while since we've been here. Since the last time I had the opportunity to travel one other country. I completed walking the Netherlands in October. It took 8 days. At 20 kilometers a day, which is not a big deal. But anyways, it's a small country and it's flat, so I liked it. And the public, yes, sure, yeah. The public really enjoyed it, and I met with a whole bunch of relatives and cousins that I didn't even know I had. But it was all organized. Like my parents are from there, and so we got a lot of coverage from the media, really good coverage. So in 8 days, we had like 11 major newspapers cover our story, and they really liked it because it said, Canadian monk travels or walks across the Netherlands to explore his roots. So it was a happy story, It really was. And then in the evenings, we always start early in the morning. In the evenings, we had to have some kind of program at a temple or devotees' home like that. Ended up in Rotterdam, which is in Belgium. That's an amazing project. If we do everything like that there, around, we would be doing a really good job. They just have a nice place there. So I ended up at the German border, and it just had a good time. It's well organized by 3 devotees who are, he's from Delhi, and his wife is from Romania, and their friend is from Kolkata. So there are devotees there that helped me through along the way. I had quite a few relatives join me also. They decided to join me, and we had a big banquet, sort of family reunion with those cousins I was talking about, just across the street from the church where my dad used to go. And I got a chance to see where my dad was born and raised. Like they had 18 or 20 people living in a little house. And see, they went through the war, so they had to have the Nazis would come and try to get all the men and arrest them, right? So they had a little sort of like, you wouldn't even know from the outside, but there was a real little, squeezed in, you had to sort of shimmy your way in for the boys to stay at night. And because the Nazis were regularly coming into people's homes and helping themselves and taking whatever they wanted to take, that kind of stuff. But anyways, a lot of my relatives, they're growers, they have greenhouses, and they've done very successful businesses. One of them sold out to developers, anyways, they just did really well. Wonderful people, that's great. And it's very impressive how neat and clean that country is. The thing that was most challenging, I guess, was, they have a lane for you to walk in. There's a lane for the cyclists, there's a lane for the cars, in some cases a lane for the horses. But it seems to be the cyclists, the people on bicycles, they rule that country. Like you just got to watch every time. I found it a little bit unnerving like that. But we did go through forest and also conservation areas. One in particular, where during the war, the British troops came in to help. They landed, and I can't remember the name of the place exactly, but yeah, they were parachuted down from helicopters and so on like that. I think they got really, they didn't do very well in that, and that's what war's all about. There were lots of plaques of honoring Canada, because there was Canadian soldiers that went to Holland and liberated the country. So that's amazing, and that's why there's a kind of a love affair between the two countries, Canada and the Dutch are very indebted to Canada for coming in and getting themselves freed up. Yeah, so hopefully we don't have to live through those kind of things again. But history tells that there is this kind of conflict that goes on. It started with the Devatas of the Asuras, where they're vying for, so the Amrit nectar that would allow any consumers to live long, practically immortal. But that conflict happens, and myself being a baby boomer and going through the sort of the peace movement and the flower child stuff, it's hard to see that whatever we were screaming about is actually, or we're against, is coming on full force. So that's very important. Anyways, Hare Krishna. We're here for a few minutes. I wish you all the best, and I know we need a bigger space. What do you think? Is the space big enough for us here?
No.
Not really. We'll have to have a second level, maybe then we can manage. All right. Let's go to a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Yesterday we passed this, the 20th of December, right? Right. And we celebrated the 20 years of services in Brampton. So that was 20 years ago that we opened up Brampton. We were in different locations, Kamato, we had rented a space there. Before that was a high school. And then finally, we went downtown, George Street or something. And then finally landed ourselves into a plaza where, we just outgrown ourselves after the first year being there. And just, we opened up Mississauga, so some of the devotees from Brampton who actually live in Mississauga filled up that space, and without that left a little bit of a gap in Brampton, but it filled in right away. Just worked. And even at the Toronto Temple, we have people coming all the time, young folks especially. So where are you from? Oh, we're from Brampton. Like the Brampton seems to be producing a lot of people. And Minnetonka also. Hare Krishna. Okay, so it is the month of the Gita. It is this month that we're in right now. And starting this month on December the 1st, we recognize that as the time when Krishna spoke the Gita. And we're so grateful that he has done that, because he has he spoke to Arjuna, but Arjuna already knew all the stuff. I mean, Arjuna could have easily said, I'm knowing this. I'm knowing everything. Because he was trained from birth to absorb all this information about Vedic life. Anyways, let's look at the last shloka from this Bhagavad Gita, last shloka from chapter 12, which is one of the shortest ones, and it's entitled as devotional service. I thought it wraps up the chapter very nicely, right? So if you got a copy, then we'll look at it. We'll go through the Sanskrit. You can repeat, okay? I think it's page 527 of this publication. All right? Devotional service. Ye tu dharmamritamidam
Ye tu dharmantam idam
Yatoktam paribhasate
yatoktam paribhasate
Shraddhana matpurama
Shraddhanam matparama
Bhaktastetiva me priya.
bhaktate diva me priya.
Translation: those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Okay, let's repeat that. Those who follow this imperishable path
Path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me.
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktimarga Swami Prabhupada. In this chapter, from verse 2 through the end, from Mayavesha no Yimam, fixing the mind on me, through Ye tu Dharmamritam idam, this religion of eternal engagement, the Supreme Lord has explained the processes of transcendental service for approaching Him. Such processes are very dear to the Lord, and He accepts the person engaged in them. The question of who is better, one who is engaged in the path of impersonal Brahman, or one who is engaged in the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was raised by Arjuna. And the Lord replied to him so explicitly that there is no doubt that devotional service to the personality of Godhead is the best of all processes of spiritual realization. In other words, in this chapter, it is decided that through good association, one develops attachment for pure devotional service, and thereby accepts a bona fide spiritual master, and from him begins to hear and chant and observe the regulative principles of devotional service with faith, attachment, and devotion, and thus becomes engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. Good. We just have a little bit more. This path is recommended in this chapter. Therefore, there is no doubt that devotional service is the only absolute path for self-realization, for the attainment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Absolute Truth, as described in this chapter, is recommended only up to the time one surrenders himself for self-realization. In other words, as long as one does not have the chance to associate with a pure devotee, the impersonal conception may be beneficial. In the impersonal conception of the Absolute Truth, one works without fruitive result, meditates and cultivates knowledge to understand spirit and matter. This is necessary as long as one is not in the association of a pure devotee. Fortunately, if one develops directly a desire to engage in Krishna consciousness and pure devotional service, he does not need to undergo step-by-step improvements in spiritual realization. Devotional service, as described in the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, is more congenial. One need not bother about materials to keep body and soul together, because by the grace of the Lord, everything is carried out automatically. Thus, under the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of devotional service. Hare Krishna. And I forgot to mention that after we opened up the Brampton Center, I approached Dear Nitai. I said, Dear Nitai, we got something on the west end of the city. Why don't we do something in the east end? And so then, we got something together, right? And so this is the result. A nice community. Thank you. Especially your devotees. All right, there's a lot here. And we'll just talk a little bit about this. As you know, December is a time which has been recognized by the Jewish community and the Christian community as a special time. It's a time of giving, and even the people, the Celtic culture that was in Europe before the Christians came in, they recognized that at the end of the month, the winter solstice, the days start opening up and turning to be longer days. You know how the days are very short now. And but it was the Christian community that was trying very hard to convert all the pagan people. Whatever was the practice before was unfavorable for the Christians. So they wanted to get their numbers, and they decided to slap on, okay, we'll decide Jesus Christ will have his birthday in December, because the pagans already have it for celebrating. So I guess to some extent it worked. And but luckily we in our tradition recognize this as a very special time of the year of giving. Giving what? Well, jnanam, information about the Absolute and the science of the self. It's important to know who you are, especially in these days when there's, especially amongst young folks, they're kind of confused about who am I? It's called identity crisis. And so it becomes very clear through the teachings of the Gita that I'm a spirit, I'm not this body, and let me do something about it. And that doing something about it means devotional service. There are different paths for approaching God. One is the personal and one is the impersonal. A number of years ago, my godbrother Shori he was running a radio show with Chum, and it was weekly or monthly. And he'd start the show with Lata Mangeshkar's recording of the Bhagavad Gita, And he was at this particular chapter 12. So she would sing, the verse perfectly, of course. And then I was asked just to give a little commentary. I don't know if much came out of it, but my job as a sannyasi is to do to the best of my ability to share information of what God has said. My purpose is not to go around and make up my own program. There are very popular gurus out there that they don't quote from the Gita. In fact, one of the very prominent ones was, someone asked him, he said, have you read the Gita? He said, and his answer was, I don't need to. And sometimes you get some of these prominent guys on Instagram, they say something very short because that's what Instagram is all about. And I'm trying to say, what are they talking about? Is there anything, is God in the picture even, And I feel kind of hurt personally because, people are gullible by nature, we know that. And they get sucked into, these speculations and these fabrications. And if they don't make reference to what God has done, surely they're making up their own stories. And some of these fellows have charisma, and they have an incredible ability to make use of the words. They have the gift of gab, and a lot of people just kiss their feet. So, to get things straight, to end the confusion in the world, Krishna comes, as he explains in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. Right? He explains that I've come here. So he comes here to subdue the wrongdoers. He comes here to protect the great devotees of the Lord. And then finally he says, I come to establish Dharma. 3 reasons for his coming into this world. But out of the 3, the most important one is I want to be with my devotees. I want to be with them, and they also want to be with me. So this is it. Yeah. You will never be lonely. You'll never be lonely. I'm Mr. Lonely. I have nobody. Whatever, Bobby Vinton, he's got this incredible range of voice. You know what, you've heard it before. It's quite nice, right? But it's just like we're all missing something. And that missing link is actually Krishna. And he's there for us. But we're doing whatever we can to avoid him. He's calling us to come close, And we're saying, okay, maybe, but give me a little more time, okay? Maybe later on, okay? You're the dessert, and I want to take the dessert later on, okay? In India, in some of the communities, the Brahmins, they eat the dessert first, just to make sure that they cover that first. And the sweets come first, and then everything else can come later on. Sorry. But speaking of sweetness, there's nothing like the personal approach to the absolute. And this great saints have realized, like the Kumaras, they were on a search for the absolute. They were already into meditation. They already understood Brahman. But when they smelled some tulsi leaves, which is the sweet basil, to their nostrils, they opened up I kind of broke open their meditation. Said, oh my gosh, what is this personality of Godhead? Vishnu, so the image of Vishnu, which is a very large, massive blue man. The last time there's been a lot across Canada. I was in Saskatchewan. I was at a place called East End. It's called East End, that's the name of the town. Population 600. We had an engagement at the local library, and there was a family of ranchers, raising beef cattle, and they had turned vegetarian. They had turned vegetarian. But we had a nice chat because our usual procedure is to talk about the walking experiences and then told them a little bit of philosophy, just like we did in Nunavut, that one place where expensive rich. And so after the talk was over, people were just having some snacks on the side. The one man, he said, the rancher, he said, I always believed that when I end my life, I'm supposed to go to see a big blue man. Oh, you meet such interesting people out there. Yeah. I wish I could have kept in touch with him. It's actually hard. You leave them information, a card or something, but very few times people get back to you, honest to be honest. In that same province, Saskatchewan, I was walking on the Red Coat Trail, and right next to the highway is the railroad track. And on the railroad, there were these guys doing repairs. So I just decided to interact. So we chatted a little bit. Say, hey, do you guys ever sing, I'm working on the railroad? So they chuckled a little bit. I left my information with this one guy, and he got back to me. Of all people, of all places, in a very massive part of the country, which is in the prairies, one guy decides to email me. He said, how are you doing? It's very rare. And there was another occasion. I do want to link my stories up to what is the devotion path. I was in one place in Ohio, and Friday night, the fellow actually showed up to the area where I was walking. It was maybe it was Pennsylvania, one of those places, part of the rust part of it. That means there was a lot going on, and then things just turned rusty. That people, some of these towns had better days. So in this one particular city, if you can get somebody from a newspaper, that like a journalist, to come on Friday late afternoon, you're really lucky. It's so rare because like in most industries, you got a few extra hours to kill. I'll just start my holiday, my weekend early. So this guy came, and he was an African American. He had a slick dress. He had like this vest, this purple vest, and he looked very neat and tidy. And so he interviewed me and my support guy at the time, and he liked what we were doing so much, sharing the wisdom. And we gave him a little book, Chant to Be Happy. So first of all, he didn't show much emotion. But as we were telling him about our whole endeavor, But, with a straight face, he says, I really like your story. Can I give you a hug? So then the next day, we got on the front page of the newspaper, and it was a rainy day, it was Saturday. That's when I was walking in the rain. And I heard a voice across the street, a gentleman who runs a used cars sales place. And he goes, hey! And I said, I couldn't see because it was raining hard, an umbrella and all this thing. Yeah, hey! So I finally saw the guy. He had this red, rounded face, is what I said. Jolly as anything, like a happy person. He said, hey, I saw you in the newspaper. Why don't you come on in, get dried up, And he was just so kind. Yeah, we did sit down, and I sat with him. When I say I mean me and Super Soul. We sat with him in the garage and said, hey, do you need anything? And I'll give you out the shirt off my back if you need. Tell me what you want. Some coffee? This, that, of course. And it was just so jolly. He said, you're from, I told him I was from Canada. I know somebody from Wawa in Ontario, Wawa. Yeah, he lives here. He's got this big thing going. So then we went to meet him. Anyways, fast forward a few months later, I'm in Mayapur. Does anybody know where Mayapur is? Okay. So then I get this call early morning, and hello, and it's yeah, hello. Is the walking monk there? I said, yes, this is he. I'm the walking monk. Hey, it's me. Car salesman all around. That's how nice he was. He was so incredibly good. So he demonstrated personalism, how to be really kind and to reaching out. And of course, he's not a Christian conscious person. I don't think he's a Christian, but that's okay. We don't mind. Anybody who demonstrates saintliness, we're okay with that. After all, everyone is a part of God. Mamai Vangsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Buddha Sanatana. We're all part and parcel of the whole, and the whole is Krishna. We're sometimes described as being little like iron, what would you call them? Like little flames, start a bonfire. Does anybody go camping here? Does anybody do the Canadian thing? You go camping and then you have to have fire, fire, and then it shoots. Little sparks shoot up, does all the little fire, and that's like what we are. We're like little, flames that come out of the bigger flame. That's how we are described. And some little sparks stay alive in devotional service. They might get something dry, like some kindling, and then a little fire maybe started. So that's what Krishna consciousness is pretty much about. It's personalism, and it wants to share its greatest wealth, which is the wisdom, and the wisdom about surrender to the absolute. So that's a nice reflection, really. We are part and parcel of one great whole, and that whole is Krishna. Whole meaning W-H-O-L-E, not H-O-L-E. Because we would consider that if you were, carrying on in life, but there's no Krishna consciousness, you are in a hole. That's what you are. You are just in one big hole, and you're not holy. It's a play on words. Personalism in Krishna consciousness is what allows us to be distinct from the common interpretation of Vedic wisdom. We are here to say, and what Prabhupada has come to do for us, is to say God is a person. It's simple as that. And there are hints of that all throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Having Bodhanam Amishat, that's the verse that is in chapter 10, that he's a person. You can accept the impersonal side of God, that's okay. But you will be, let's say, divested of the full truth. It's better to have the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me. Yeah, it's really important to see that side of God. After all, if God is whole, Purnam, doesn't it mean that there has to be a personal side and not the, say, personality-less side? God is a person. God has character. God has personality. All these things need to be grasped. And so this is why this chapter is really important. It means to be on the path of service, path of exchange, path of love, loving exchanges, a reciprocal relationship. Was it your birthday yesterday?
Yes.
Happy birthday! Hare Krishna. I was going to
How can you remember all this?
I wrote it down. Years ago. Thank you. Happy birthday. Yes. Okay. So I guess in some ways it is a birthday for us here too. This month. It's time to we're really in a jolly mood and to share the great Gyan which is before us. What is the side of personalism that is so unique, especially as expressed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It's something called Achincha Bheda Bheda Tattva. That everything is one, but unique at the same time. And it's beautiful. It fits it's kind of like a dhoti or a sari. It fits all sizes. Some of us are plump, some of us are a little bit on the big side, but the dhoti will work. Or if you're on the skinny side, it'll work. Just wrap it around a little bit more. Isn't that the beautiful thing about our dress code? Otherwise, pants won't fit any size. You have to get, if you're a big, large man, you have to go to a store where they sell, and they have female stores, right, for big ladies and so on like that. Yeah, and so, but this philosophy, which we find encased in areas like chapter 9, that everything is one, but it's also distinct. When we say everything is one, it's a little superficial. How can everything be one? When somebody like Radha Gopinath, he's got a certain nature, and the person sitting right next to him is different. They're both smiling like anything. That makes them one as friends. But at the same time, they're very different from each other. And that's the nice thing about like a couple that gets along. They're probably different from each other. And opposites attract, we know that. And yet one is jolly, and the other was a little more sedate or serious, grave, and something like that. But they get along with each other because they're opposites, right? They're two, but they're one at the same time, One, but two units that make up one. Okay? And now we're also sitting here. All the men over there are sitting this way. All four of you, like us. And you're each one of you is very unique. We're all together here to hear a little bit about Krishna, to serve Krishna, and worship and take some prasad. But each person is a little unique and different. And I think we gave that example here before. Somebody offered me this nice flower garland: purple, red, yellow, purple, pink and white. What else do we have? We have some green. It looks kind of nice, right? Many different colors. And now at this time of the year, people are recognizing Jesus coming, so they're decorating their houses with all kinds of colors. It does look kind of good, right? Isn't it? Yeah, that looks kind of nice. And so it's a colorful time, especially the complementary colors of the red and the green. That seems to be the main, color of the month. Let's put it that way. And then it changes over. Then you get the hot pink for Valentine's Day. Yeah. So in our culture, we have something to give, and that is this great wisdom. Because like the other day, I was in Calgary, and I was on a TV interview, and National Times, it's called, and they put it on the air, and there was a nice gentleman, Rajiv Sharma. Pretty typical name, right? Nice man. And he's all about Sanatana Dharma and all this. So he wanted to know, he asked me a classic question, how I got into this. Here I'm a Western person, born in Canada. How did I get interested in Krishna consciousness? So, I told him, I'm a baby boomer. I came at a time when there was a lot of curiosity, especially about India, anything Indian. It was the first time that people took India very seriously, apart from a group of transcendentalists, American, wise thinkers, pundits, that people took interest in India not to exploit it necessarily. They didn't, people had become immigrants for centuries for the spices, for the diamonds, for this and that, and the silks, and all these other things that India has to offer. But kind of more or less to rape it, to be honest with you. Now, for the first time, people are going to India to hear about, to gain the gyan, the philosophy, and that was very interesting. And one of the questions that came out in the interview was about, Krishna, why is it Krishna? And I said, well, Krishna is the only person amongst all the avatars, and he's known as Avatari, to present the Gyan, the philosophy of life. Nobody else did that. We don't discredit Rama or Shiva or anybody else, but it was Krishna who actually has come on a regular basis, let's say from time to time, to share the wisdom, and nobody else has done that. Now, if you explain that to some people, why we're so crazy and fanatical about Krishna, well, apart from his beautiful pastimes and everything good that's about him, he's the one that took time out. Let's put it out. Took time out, went on sabbatical from his usual, lila, to tell the world about who you are, why you're here, why it's important to serve, and so on like that. It's Krishna who's done this. So do you understand? Like, when we were in Huntsville, this goes back a few months ago, and one man said, why Krishna? Why not Rama? I said, well, we chant Rama, 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 Hare, Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We include him. But I point out to him, it's Krishna who actually did what he did. He became he acted as a pundit at a critical time when someone who was in trouble, namely Arjuna. And that wisdom is to be embraced by all persons. It wasn't just for Arjuna, as we mentioned earlier on. He knew all these things already. So that's why Krishna is so important, and why we can remember him on this day. Now, I have to tell you something. When I finished Walking Holland in October, and we had that banquet hall, like a family reunion, and, for 50 years, all my relatives have been talking about, there's this, one of our relatives, our cousin, he's from Canada, and he left Catholicism, and he left Jesus behind. And I made it very clear to them at this time, 50 years later, I said, I never left Jesus. I never left him. I just added Krishna. I kept Jesus, added Krishna. And you see, they come from a philosophy or a culture where it's hard for them to believe that it's either you can have both. And I said, yes, you can have both. There's a tyranny of this or that. Somebody's got their phone going. Okay. This or that. And we call that, black or white or black. That's not our culture. We're quite inclusive. But people of many other faith groups, it's either this or that. It's Jesus or nothing. It's Muhammad or nothing. But that's not how we're trained. Not by Prabhupada, not by the Acharyas. The culture of India has always been inclusive. We had a group of Jewish people that came and they were in trouble, so we're going to stay here with us. It's always like that, accommodating everybody from any part of the world, pretty much. We'll make room for you. That's the move. That's the spirit. And Prabhupada accepted all kinds of people into his domain, under his umbrella, people from different backgrounds, and they came. And there was on one occasion there was an initiation, and there was a Chinese person that came, and got initiated, and said, "Are you Chinese?" Prabhupada said, "You're saying Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very merciful." So Prabhupada also said about the Chinese folks, he said that they will be the last to join, but they will be the best. Just because of their sense of discipline, right? They're very disciplined people, and I don't, like my opinion is people from India, they're sweetie pies, but we're not very disciplined, right? We're just kind of loose, traffic, But it's a nice. Everyone's been able to absorb. I've now had pizzas at so many households of people from Indian origin. There's not a consistency, and done with love. But if a pizza should be a pizza, right? It should be Italian like. Don't put haldi in there. Don't put jira in there. Do not. even think about putting, what do they call those cayenne chips or whatever they call it, chili flakes. Flakes. I had one the other day. What's going on? Yeah. So, anyways, because the culture is inclusive, let's adapt a little bit of this and adapt a little bit of that. Anyways, I have my own preference to what is the pizza, and when we do our little dramas, practices, and I have one boy working on a drama, the Gita, and one boy under the who lives in Scarborough. I said, okay, you gotta get excited here. I'm just gonna get excited here, Arjuna, you know? And you wanna see the nervous form. It's like a kid say, running pizza. You know, like getting all excited about pizza. Yeah. One of my godbrothers, Bhaktimarga, was from Italy. He said, now a pizza is a glorified chapati. It's a roti chapati with stuff on it, you know. Okay, so anyways, just to wrap it up here a little bit, we just want to say that the path of devotional service is superior to the path of Brahman, which means the active. And I think Arjuna was, while he was killing, he was enjoying at the same time, seeing a defeat. Ultimately, there was defeat. And he knew that Krishna wanted to be rid of, say this secularism or crime, basically. It's crime. The Kauravas were engaged in criminal acts. They were major offenders, Krishandis. And Krishna was happy that this can be eliminated. It can be flushed out of the earthly situation. So now it is a time when we're in trouble. We are in trouble in the world today. I know we'll carry on, and everyone will continue to look nice and put on makeup and look deal, but we really are in trouble. And we know it hurts us during a time of recession. But morally, we're in trouble. We're spiritually sick society. That's what the three said. We're spiritually sick. That means that we don't take the time to nurture our soul, but we take a lot of time to look after the externals. Got to have a nice house in the suburbs and a nice car, 2 cars. We'll have 2 kids. 2 might even be too much. So it's a little bit about greed. It's not so much about service to others, service to humanity. It's a little bit more about what's good for me. We have been sold on that culture, a sense gratification. So it's not the best thing for ourselves. The best thing to actually experience is to get into appreciating that God is a person and a benevolent one at that. And he's concerned. From chapter 10, the Lord says, I am like the deep, I'm the light in you. And I've come to destroy the darkness of like the culture, Maya. And so that he's in many ways he's telling us that he cares. And care is love. Love is care, isn't it? So I think we'll just wrap it up there. If anybody has any questions, we can go ahead. But the imperishable path of devotional service, it is complete. It's the way to go. And anybody who engages in that is, like the last word from this verse, Priya, is very dear to me. If you're dear to me, that means you're close to me. Again, we're speaking from the standpoint of Krishna. Let's get close to him. I think it's really important. And how do you get close to him? Here's the unique secret about devotional service. To get close to Krishna means you have to get close to his devotees. That's the pathway, really. You have to be nice to the devotees. And some devotees are reasonable, and some are not. Have you noticed that? We've had courses in Mayapur where said, what to do about the difficult devotees. And that's addressed to temple presidents and those difficult people. Well, even difficult people, they do assist us in some way. They do help. Because whenever there's a challenge before you, it just means you have to work a little bit harder. That's all it is. Good. So thank you very much. We have the great pleasure of being in Alberta at 4 communities, Calgary, Edmonton, Grand Prairie, which we're going to register this 2026, and Red Deer. So if you're ever going out west to Lake Louise, you can visit some of the other places that we have up there. That was great. So thank you very much. And any questions? I heard that. What does the clock say?
12.
It's 12 right on the button. How do you like that? Yeah, we'll be available after the program. What's that?
You spoke quite brilliantly. Quite
Oh, no, you think you are too much nice. You have the Krishna spirit. The Krishna spirit. All right, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindudyevata, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namah. Hare Krishna.